Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Griffin, Bishop, Conwell, Gray, Hairston, Harsh, House Jones, Joseph Jones, Casey, Kelly, Moorer, McCormack, Polensek, Santana, Slife, Spencer, Starr. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Will all please rise for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Clerk, please dispense with the journal.
A motion by Councilmember Starr that the reading of the minutes of the last meeting be dispensed with and the journal approved. Seconded by Councilmember Spencer.
Thank you. We'll go to public comment. And first, we have, if we ask all the council members to acknowledge the speakers, we ask all the speakers to acknowledge your time. First, we have Jenna Muhaddin from Ward 15. The topic is Gaza, representing non-applicable and not being paid by anyone. Please proceed.
At this point, after 7 weeks, you are inexcusable for ignorance, but many do not know the basic history. Palestine prior to 1948 was not an empty land. Today, Israel has annexed and stole almost all of the land while murdering or displacing the native inhabitants, illegally, violently, and forcefully, leaving just Gaza and parts of the West Bank for the Palestinians. Now, these are the murdered or injured Gazans. Take a look. There's 20,000 of these lifeless, bloody bodies and 50,000 severely, brutally injured without proper care. Imagine these were your children, or maybe even white children, because the almost immediate passing of a resolution condemning Russia's invasion of Ukraine prove you all are not incompetent nor incapable of passing a resolution condemning genocide. What type of hypocrisy, racism, and immorality must be harbored within a people to act so slowly in the face of unspeakable evil? I urge you all to think independently and understand this is not a war with terrorists. This is an ongoing genocide of Palestinians and ethnic cleansing under the mirage of self-defense. Israel has been on the offensive since 1948. Look at the UN's definition of an occupying power. 20,000 murdered Palestinians in not even 2 months. What would you do? Think which nations and which histories back this settler colonialism. Which nations call Hamas a terrorist group and which nations have initiated wars and massacres on the basis of lies. Israel has broken dozens of international laws and resolutions. Think for yourselves. Who would accept their kids being blown to bits? Their objective is not and was never Hamas. It is to systematically and violently eradicate Palestinians from their homeland. Statements that prove this include: the focus is destruction, not accuracy. We will turn Gaza into an island of ruins. Wipe out their families, their mothers, and their children. These animals must not be allowed to live any longer. This is what you should be scared of, Joseph Jones. Is this what you stand with, Mayor Bibb? Obviously, you were all condemning in the strongest terms the Russian invasion of Ukraine on March 1st, 2022, but have yet to acknowledge that Israel has invaded Palestine and murdered 20,000 Palestinian civilians. And may there be everlasting shame on every racist chip in this room who believes in selective human rights and supports Israel's terrorist regime. Cleveland City Council, what are you waiting for? 3 students in Vermont were shot for wearing a keffiyeh. A hijabi woman in New York was beaten senseless in her place of work. A 6-year-old boy was stabbed in his Chicago home. 100% of respondents to a CSU survey feel directly affected by the crisis overseas. So those are your damn people and doing their damn job. People are dying. It is time to pass a resolution asking for a ceasefire, which means an end to warfare from both sides. You have heard your own citizens begging you to make Cleveland safer for us and pass a resolution before more people are shot or stabbed. Please get off your phone right in front of me. We are contributing members to the society and deserve to be acknowledged. Wallahi, and that is a strong word, by God, everybody here will ensure that none of you sitting here who ignored our cause, who did not advocate for a ceasefire resolution, will not see another term in office. Pass the resolution now, free Palestine.
Next, we have Christopher Hudson. He's from Ward 12. He's here to talk about limiting public comment, and he's representing PSL and not being paid by anyone.
Good evening. I am here once again to demand that this council issue a statement in defense of Palestinian children, their siblings, their mothers and fathers, and I am here because I must condemn council's unwillingness to act and its criminal obstruction of those who would call them to act. Not only has this council refused to pass any of the three resolutions calling for a ceasefire that have been presented to them and which have passed in other cities around the United States, they also seek to suppress further public calls for action, tactics which have resulted in a First Amendment lawsuit. Council members have also accused constituents of not really living in Cleveland, spouted racist tropes about bombs and mobs, threatened the movement with police violence, and dismissed our pleas for actions. Despite these obstacles, the community has continued to show up at these meetings week after week, and thousands have marched in the streets and attended demonstrations across our region. While the council has continued to ignore the popular will, a Palestinian business in Ward 6 has been the subject of harassment, and thousands more have been killed in Gaza by the genocidal Zionist campaign. And right now, Israel has demanded that Palestinians in Gaza keep moving south, farther away from their already leveled homes, indicating that the Zionist entity intends to add to the 20,000 Palestinians that they have already killed in the past 8 weeks. So how many more weeks are we going to wait for the Jewish Federation to rubber stamp a watered-down version of the resolutions we have already presented to you? It bears noting that the Jewish Federation is based in Beechwood, not in Cleveland, which begs the question about council's other big donors. How many First Energy and KeyBank executives live in Cleveland? What about the Gilberts? And despite these outside influences on council, members of this body have hypocritically raised the specter of outside agitators, a specter that was originally conjured during the Huff Uprising and then revived during the 2020 uprisings and is now being used against the current Palestinian movement. The only outside agitators in our city are the ones who, in return for a contribution to the council leadership fund, are subsidized to loot our city. The only outside agitators in our city are the organizations who would dictate policy from outside its limits. The only outside agitators in our city are the would-be regional oligarchs and their lackeys who threaten, harass, and carry out violence against pro-Palestinian organizations and individuals right under council's noses. And all of this is a reflection of Zionism. Zionism, subsidized by the United States, loots Palestine and impoverishes Palestinians. Zionism dictates policy to Palestinians while insisting on a two-state solution. And with the United States complicity, Zionism does not hesitate to use violence and threats against anyone that challenges it, down to the infants in Al-Shifa Hospital that the IDF left to die, cold and alone. Our city council should recognize that there is only one outside agitator here in our city and across the world in Palestine, and that is Zionism and the imperialist class that funds and maintains this murderous regime. Joe Jones, if you want to apologize to the people behind me right now, introduce one of the three resolutions that we have presented to members of this council tonight.
Next, we have Cameron Damaska from Ward 17 to talk about police presence at City Hall. Cameron represents the Party for Socialism and Liberation and is not being paid by anyone.
Evening, Council. At the last council meeting, there was an unprecedented number of police officers mobilized in City Hall. The front two rows were completely blocked off with caution tape, and attendees at that time reported a 1-to-1 ratio of police officers to citizens in the hall. It seems you all chose to do this again. This heightened police presence occurs amidst an ongoing crisis in Cleveland PD, where 40% of the police officers have either resigned or quit since 2020, and you all are struggling big time to replace them. So, my question for you all is, what is the justification for this increased police presence? My answer is that Joe Jones smeared the organized efforts of residents to support Palestine and to pass a ceasefire resolution. He slandered this movement as terrorists who will, quote, put a bomb under his car. He threatened to bring a gun to council, and he falsely claimed that there were threats to murder Justin Bibb. Residents have been speaking out on Palestine for 2 months. The increased policing only came after these unsubstantiated and dangerous claims. This needs to be called out for what it is: false allegations which have mobilized police to intimidate political opposition. The fact that the police are mobilized to suppress political opposition is an ongoing problem and exactly why Cleveland PD is in crisis right now. Some historical context. The police were organized to suppress the Black Power political movement of the late 60s, which targeted organizations in Cleveland such as the Republic of New Livia and the Black Panther Party. This was followed by 40 years of retaliation against the black community through the covert import of drugs, mass incarceration, and racist police terror. These conditions gave rise to protests against police brutality, culminating in the massive 2020 protests. The violent repression of those protests and subsequent shifts in public opinion has sent Cleveland PD into the crisis that we see today. It seems you all have learned absolutely nothing from this. The more you demand the police to go against public opinion, the fewer police you all will have next year. The more police are ordered to stand against political issues that are supported by the vast majority of young people, the more young people will refuse to be police officers. All right, for the rest of my time, I want to address an ongoing Zionist harassment campaign in the city, which deserves far more attention and police presence than what is going on in this hall right now. A Zionist provocateur named Alec Popovicher has been harassing Palestinians for years with no real consequences. Cleveland State University tried to bring hate crime charges against him in January 2023, and he got off with no jail time. Since he was cleared in July, Popovicher has had multiple police reports filed against him for hate crimes at Algebra Tea House, a Palestinian-owned restaurant in Blaine Griffin's ward.
Time. Thank you.
Free Palestine.
Next, we have Basma Hamid from Ward 13 to talk about ceasefire in Gaza, not representing anyone, not being paid by anyone.
Good evening. Assalamu alaikum. Rest in peace, little ones. Your messages is well heard. Are you okay? I'm not. My days, my nights, my daily life is not the same anymore. I don't know about yours. Louis Farrakhan said the quote, "There only can be no peace without justice. There can be no justice without peace. And the truth can be no truth unless someone rises and tell you the truth," unquote. The truth is here. There's a blind slaughtering machine operated by the gruesome Zionists killing men, women, and children left and right every minute, every hour, and every day in Gaza and Palestine. What kind of society are we living in that allows such a horrific, inhumane, and horrible manslaughter in cold blood by those bloodsuckers occupying Palestine and Gaza, stripping Palestinians from their land and their organs, putting them in prison, committing physical, sexual, mental, intellectual abuses against them day and night in front of the whole world's eyes. And once again, no one has the guts to condemn and stop these horrific daily activities. Where are your hearts? Is this a society of humankind or a society made of stone? Palestinians go through their day not knowing if they are going to make it alive to the next minute, the next hour, or until the end of the day. The non-stop blind slaughter machine has been going on continuously for 75 years, and it's still going. Rest in peace, little ones. Sorry, there is no one available to bury you. This cruel, vicious, disgusting, inhumane world, governed by the law of the jungle, won't allow you to live past the incubators. Your pure innocence was cut short and have been taken away without mercy by the blind slaughter machine ran by Israel, the United States, and the free world. We will honor our murdered children, sons, and daughters. Rest in peace, moms, dads, and grandparents. Sorry, no one is available to bury you. The society is so cruel and disgusting that we're murdered in cold blood by the blind slaughter machine without mercy. I don't want to see innocent lives suffer, and I think everyone else here agrees with me. Stop the genocide and pass the resolution. from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Thank you.
Next, we have Julia Medina. She's from Cleveland. She's here to talk about ceasefire in Gaza. She's not representing anyone, not being paid by anyone. Is Julia here? Julia Medina.
Hello. I was born and raised here on the west side of Cleveland, Ohio. I am a humanitarian. Today I'm here to raise my concern about the United States of America financially and physically supporting Israel to commit war crimes just to accomplish a genocide of the Palestinian people, whom don't even have an army, by the way, to protect them on their behalf. Now coming into this world as part of the lower working class, I can firsthand testify to the true daily struggle of raising a child and barely making it by because of the cost of living and the lack of help that the government provides financially. To find out my government cares more about land and oil than the lives of their civilians and are willing to kill innocent civilians overseas for it is beyond devastating to myself and thousands of others. Can anyone here explain to us how helping Israel commit war crimes and slaughter thousands of innocent civilians in Palestine is more important than what your civilians are going through here in the United States of America? How many homeless people do we have in Cleveland and the U.S. but not enough resources for? How many veterans or ex-military have PTSD, no medical, no job, and again, not enough resources to actually help them due to lack of funds? But somehow we have enough money to aid Israel with billions. How is this possible? By taxing us, the civilians, and using our money to fund this slaughter. That is how this is possible, which we Americans are not okay with. But I've heard our political leaders state that we Cleveland stand with Israel. I can assure you, we Cleveland and most of America stand with Palestine and with humanity. We the people demand an immediate, permanent ceasefire and to bring all American soldiers home. We demand that our country leaders be held accountable as well as Israel for all of their war crimes against the Palestinian people. We demand a political solution, one that does not involve the killing of Palestinian civilians and stealing of their land and over the right to their oil and their trade routes. And of course, a political solution that will also end the killing of Jewish people on that side that are not part of the Zionists. Times have changed in the past. We believe that we was told because we didn't know better. In today's time, we have the ability to see the truth with our own eyes, and we see a repeat in history back to when Indians had their land stolen and was dehumanized and slaughtered for it. Had we the ability to know the truth back then, we too would have stood up and did the right thing as well. And now that we have that opportunity, we will not remain silent. We will not allow the political parties in charge currently to take away our right to freedom of speech. We already see it happening all over America where people are being told that comparing Zionists to Nazis is going to be illegal and we can be incarcerated, or saying Israel is a terrorist state. By saying all Arabs are terrorists is not, or that since we support Palestine, we are terrorists ourselves and should be deported. I am an American, but yet I can be deported for not supporting the genocide. How does that make sense? How is that not violating freedom of speech? I can assure you, no matter what ridiculous laws and political members pass, we will not be silenced. We will stand up for what's right. We will continue to protest until we are heard by our leaders. Thank you. Free Palestine.
Next, we have Syed Shoaib Z. Shah from Shaker Heights to talk about public health in Cleveland, not representing anyone, not being paid by anyone. Is Syed Shoaib Z. Shah here? Is Syed Shoaib? You have the floor, sir. Please acknowledge your time.
Assalamu alaikum. I see a lot of Muslims in here. I am here to talk about public health. Not a bait and switch. I know in 2020 the council passed a resolution proclaiming racism to be a public health crisis. And kind of since then, what really progress has been made? I'm involved in charitable healthcare. I've been there for about, I want to say, better part of half a decade to 6 years. And back then we were talking about a lot of good ideas, generating wealth, purchasing housing, creating career pathways and new industries. and to really help the community. And now what, you know, now kind of like now, look at what's going on. Groceries increased 30%. Housing, what is it, 25 in the last year or something? I don't know. Even more over the past 3 years. But we're kind of doing it opposite. We're making it harder for home ownership, and we're not having affordable housing, and that's like a huge issue when we talk about social determinants of health. We talk about access to health care, you know, is what we work on in our organization. And I know this morning, there was some push of funds towards various programs that are meant to help bolster social determinants of health in coordination with a lot of health partners in the local area. But when you kind of read into it, it's kind of more of the same, being pushed into, you know, various community centers for different things. And I think we really need to innovate in that sector for the sake of our community. Because when you look, we're kind of dealing with issues now, but when you look, you know, 5, 10 years down the road, you know, we're going to hit a lot of problems. I see that time running. You know, I don't have any political ambitions, and I'm pretty impartial when it comes to all this, but we can't wait for, I guess, politicians whose ambitions are kind of beyond Cleveland to help us out. We really need to be focused, you know, on what's going to happen now, what we can do now, so 10 years down the road we're not encountering even more issues when it comes to public health. I have a lot of ideas. I would like to meet you, you know, I'd like to meet all the people on council. You know, our clinic is located in Ward 7, but we do different public clinics all around. And I'm not blind to what's going on, you know, in Palestine. But as Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, "Al-natu min Allah, wal ajalatu min ash-shaytan." It means that patient, thoughtful deliberation is from Allah, and then hasty angst and, you know, kind of like doing things out of anger and hastiness is from the shaitan, from the devil. So I don't have much to say regarding that today, but I do hope for peace and justice, and you know, may Allah bless those who are oppressed, and the dua of the oppressed are always listened to. So thank you for your time again. I'm going to try to reach out to everybody. All right,
Thank you. Next, we have Brian Duplacer. Brian Duplacer is from Ward 15. He's here to talk about ceasefire and safety, not representing anyone and not being paid by anyone. Brian Duplacer.
I grew up knowing nothing about Palestine or the Palestinian people, except for what the American news at the time told me. All I heard were things like Hamas, terrorists, and that Palestinian people were violent. In college, as part of a degree in disaster science management, I took some courses on counterterrorism and heard the same rhetoric. My baseline, like many people's today, was completely skewed. And then I met my wife. The first things I noticed about my wife was that she was kind, generous, intelligent, and full of joy. I also immediately knew she was Palestinian because she's so proud of who she is, and who she is, as so many Palestinians are. I could have not been luckier to meet my wife and have the immense honor to get beyond those stereotypes of Palestinians and to even visit Palestine myself. The Palestinian people are far from what the media has told me, and after taking the time to actually invest in the knowledge of what it means to be Palestinian, there's more than meets the eye. I bring that up today because now I am the proud father of 2 Palestinian Clevelander daughters who, at the rate of this conflict is going, may never be able to visit their ancestral home and witness the generosity and beauty of our people. And I say ours because even though I grew up in Louisiana with no Arab heritage, my mother-in-law tells me I'm officially Palestinian now. I know the conflict is happening across the globe from Cleveland, but that does not mean it doesn't touch our city lines. Your citizens, my people, have been coming here week in and week out telling you that they do not feel safe in the city because your silence allows hatred to be accepted. Your silence, the silence of our leaders, makes people feel like it is okay to be violent towards Palestinians, much like the men who were shot just for existing as being Palestinian, the 6-year-old child that was stabbed for being Palestinian in Chicago, and even locally in your city, a Palestinian owner has had his establishment vandalized and harassed constantly. This is not unlike the silence and racism of our leaders on the federal government that allow the deaths of 5,000 Palestinian children in Gaza or the imprisonment and torture of thousands of Palestinian children with no due process in the West Bank, where there is no Hamas. I am not asking for you to solve 100 years of Palestinian dispossession, but I am asking you to make a statement that makes me, my wife, and my daughters, and everyone in this room feel safe and like they belong here. We want to be seen, we want to be heard, and we want to do it without being persecuted. Just saying that it is wrong to kill innocent Palestinian lives is not a political statement. It is not an us versus them statement. It is a statement of human rights. And if there are people who are making it political to stand up for Palestinian humanity and dignity, maybe you should be questioning them why. Continue your silence and blank stares, and I promise each and every one of you here today that when elections come, if I don't feel safe, if I don't feel my daughters are going to be safe in this city, I will do everything I can to ensure that y'all are not reelected.
Next, we have Dana Bai. Dana Bai is from Edgewater to talk about public comment, not representing anyone, not being paid by anyone. Dana, you have the floor.
Good evening. My name is Dana Bai, and I am a resident of Ward 15 and a third-year student at Cleveland State University College of Law, taking a break from studying for finals. 3 years ago, my husband and I moved to Cleveland from DC. He was a native Clevelander and I a transplant from Minnesota. Within a year of our arrival, this body made a pro-democracy change. It enacted public comment. With that effort, opened up a new avenue for all Clevelanders to bring council's attention to issues that may not have been on its radar, and to amplify voices around people-first policies like wage theft and paid family leave. But now, some on council want to roll back public comment, to which I can only ask, what are you afraid of? As city council members, you have signed up to hear from all of the people, not just those who donate, not just those who march in parades with you. Sometimes the voices that make you the most uncomfortable are the voices you need to hear from the most. If council decides to limit what it will hear during public comment, it will send a signal to the current and prospective Clevelanders that you have something to hide from the people, something to fear from the people. Neither of those are good outcomes for this city or for democracy. When people rise to this mic to make public comment, they participate in our democracy. Don't let fear of what they might say force them back into silence. Thank you.
Next, we have Michelle Jackson. Michelle Jackson is from Buckeye Shaker. She's here to talk about public comment, proposed changes, not representing anyone, not being paid by anyone. Ms. Jackson, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening. On November 7, Issue 38 came within an eyelash of winning a people's budget for Cleveland residents, despite being outspent 2-1 by council-led opposition. On November 8th, the next day, council released a statement that read in part, Issue 38 revealed we need to do more work on civic engagement, participation, and awareness. We are indebted to you, the voters. Then on November 13th, council leadership called a caucus meeting with one urgent agenda item, neuter public comment before the end of the year. 2 years ago, a coalition of residents spanning the city urged for the adoption of a public comment ordinance. The legislation was thoroughly researched and crafted with the guidance of First Amendment scholars. It also prescribed how to deal with disruptors and a system for limiting people to one comment every 30 days. Then Council President Kelly refused to even entertain the proposal and instead had staffers throw together the rule now deemed unconstitutional by current Council President and his municipal lawyer. Excuse me, I have a bit of a cold. In an era where far-right extremism is squashing speech from school boards to state houses, where is the line of defense from our local elected Democrats? Where is the commitment to expand democratic principles and values? The proposed rule change portends an encroaching authoritarianism that places too much unchecked power in the hands of the presiding officer, while also limiting speech to issues dictated by council through its weekly meeting agenda. Already, a First Amendment legal challenge is reportedly in the works based on action taken during public comment 2 months ago. I urge this body to reconsider its shift away from democracy By reconsidering the proposed changes to public comment now, and by taking up the proposed legislation offered 2 years ago, we the people will not go away, and with each tear in the fabric of democracy in Cleveland, we come back reinforced. Without a serious shift in priorities, this body may find that its win on issue 38 by 1.78 percentage points was a Pyrrhic victory that may cost much more in the long term than what was gained on November 7th, 2023. Thank y'all.
Last public comment is from Chance Zarub from Cleveland Heights. The Palestinian resolution is the topic he would like to talk about.
My name is Chance. I'm a member of the Palestinian Youth Movement and I'm the staff attorney at the Council on American Islamic Relations here in Cleveland. For the past 7 weeks, I've been one of the organizers in our coalition, bringing the community out to City Hall, inviting them to engage in public comment, and meeting with City Council members. So on 3 separate occasions, we have done your work, wrote out and proposed resolutions to this body, once on October 30th, again on November 13th, and lastly on November 30th. In these 7 weeks, Council has sat on their hands, failing to introduce a ceasefire resolution or even make a single amendment to the resolutions we've provided. Members of the City Council have routinely brought up that we have not denounced gun violence in the city of Cleveland. However, in the newest resolution we submitted, we included a portion denouncing violence within our own Cleveland communities and abroad, showing how the effects of gun violence and state violence affect all of us from Cleveland to Palestine. Instead, what we have received from City Council is complacency, attempts to limit public comment, council members on their phones disrespecting speakers, changing the admission time into City Council meetings from 6 to 6:30, and attempts to limit participation, lackluster apologies, and Islamophobia directed at us. So I want to go ahead and say, and I believe I speak for all of us, that I do not accept the apology that was given last week by Joseph Jones. Any apology without our clear ask of introducing a ceasefire resolution on our community's behalf is not substantial. If you were truly apologetic and you were truly wanted to be accountable for your actions, you would have introduced the legislation that was sent to you directly via email from community members on November 13th. Every day, we are watching Palestinians being killed. The death toll is nearly 20,000 now. The occupation army has now started a ground offensive into the southern part of the Gaza Strip, where my own family lives. And I've lost 30 people in my family. The temperature is not cooling down. Discrimination against Palestinians in Cleveland and across the United States is going up. Students feel unsafe on campus, and violence against those wearing keffiyehs, just as this one, are going up. This is the time for a resolution. The time started on October 16th when we first came, and again on October 23rd, again on October 30th, again on November 13th, November 20th, November 27th, and the time is now. As I finish, I want to pose the question to City Council. How many Palestinians need to die? How big does this genocide need to be? And how many members of my family do I need to lose before members of this council will respond and introduce a resolution?
Mr. Clerk, please share communications.
File number 1377-2023, oath of office for Danny Kelly, Ward 11 member of council of Cleveland City Council, received. File number 1378-2023 from Council President Blaine Griffin, designating without objection by Council Alan Dreyer to serve as Clerk of Council Pro Tem for all matters requiring clerk's signature on December 4th, 2023. From the Ohio Division of Liquor Control, file number 1402-2023, number 263-12758-950. New license applications, C1 Family Dollar Stores of Ohio, LLC, 4576 West 130th Street in Ward 16.
Appointments.
File number 1396-2023 from the Mayor's Appointments Committee, recommending approval of the Mayor's appointment of Isabella McKnight, file number 1180-2023, to the City Planning Commission, term ending August 1st, 2029. Without objection, the appointment is approved. File number 1397-2023 from Council President Blaine A. Griffin, recommending approval of Councilmember Stephanie D. House-Jones as a council appointment to the Cleveland Commission on Black Women and Girls. Without objection, the appointment is approved. File number 1398-2023 from Council Members House-Jones and Gray, recommending approval of Damiana Willis to a 3-year term as a representative of a grassroots organization located in the city as a council appointment to the Cleveland Commission on Black Women and Girls. Without objection, the appointment is approved. File number 1399-2023 from Council Members House-Jones and Gray, recommending approval of Dr. Linda Bradley to a 3-year term as a representative from a local hospital who is a doctor of medicine as a council appointment to the Cleveland Commission on Black Women and Girls. Without objection, the appointment is approved. File number 1400-2023 from Council Members House-Jones and Gray, recommending approval of Tanisha Fair to a 2-year term representative from a social service agency or employed as a social worker as a council appointment to the Cleveland Commission on Black Women and Girls. Without objection, the appointment is approved. File number 1401-2023 from Council Members House-Jones and Gray, recommending approval of Anastasia Sycarone to a 1-year term as the college student representative as a council appointment to the Cleveland Commission on Black Women and Girls. Without objection, the appointment is approved.
Condolence resolution.
For Councilmember Conwell, number 1403-2023 for Jules C. Barclay. For Councilmember Griffin, number 1404-2023 for Sharon Renea Burris. For Councilmember Griffin, number 1405-2023 for Charlene Moskal Burgess. For Councilmember Griffin, resolution number 1406-2023 for George Fonzie Washington. For Councilmember Griffin, number 1407-2023 for Bertha May Houston. For Councilmember Griffin, number 1408-2023 for Dr. Edgar B. Jackson Jr. For Councilmember Jones, 1409-2023 for Mark A. Bickerstaff. For Councilmember Polensek, number 1410-2023 for Caroline Kist. For Councilmember Starr, resolution 1411-2023 for Michael D. Stone.
Are there any other condolence resolutions? Will all council members rise for a moment of silence? Thank you. Congratulatory resolutions.
For Councilmember Griffin, number 1412-2023 for Michael Nunn. For Councilmember Griffin, number 1413-2023 for the Rich Caribbean Cuisine grand opening. For Councilmember Harrison, number 1414-2023 for A Piece of Cleveland.
You have any more?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Resolution of commemoration for Councilmember House-Jones, number 1430-2023 for Garrett A. Morgan Sr. All the rest are for Councilmember Griffin. Number 1415-2023 for Lavon Paul Young. Number 1416-2023 for Alvarez Alfonso Reddix. Number 1417-2023 for Arlen Daniel Henson. Number 1418-2023 for Aaron Lavelle Turpin. Number 1419-2023 for Cedric Lewis Robinson. Number 1420-2023 for Akil Antoine Seals. Number 1421-2023 for Arlen Keith Davis. Number 1422-2023 for Eric Terrell Patrick Sr. Number 1423 for -2023 for Marcus Lamar Roberts. Number 1424-2023 for Anthony Tyrone Lassiter. Number 1425-2023 for Jameer Lamar Washington. Number 1426-2023 for Deshaun Haley. Number 1427-2023 for Brandon Earl Brown. Number 1428-2023 for Blaine Antoine Griffin. And number 1429-2023 for Edmund Wilson III.
Thank you. I do want to take a very brief moment of personal privilege, and I'm going to ask all of us to give this gentleman a round of applause. The great Ted Ginn Sr. is here. We brought home another. If he could please stand up. Coach Ginn just shepherded the Glenville Tar Blooders to their second back-to-back championship, state championship. And as, you know, my good friend, Councilman Mike Polensek always says, Ted Ginn is so much more than just sports. He's also about how he breathes into these young men, and the young women and the men's life. So thanks, Coach. Appreciate you. That's huge. Also want to take a moment to acknowledge the judge. I think I'm on his good side this week. My good friend and his wife, Donna Nelson, but my good friend, Mike Nelson, who will be retiring this year for Cleveland Municipal Court. That's all for congratulatory resolutions. I'm going to ask if my colleagues can open up the well for the great Omega Psi Phi Zeta Omega brothers to come up to council right up here to my right. And before I do that, I do want to acknowledge my good friend Richard Starr. Today is Founders Day for the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, but I got to show some love for my brothers today. Please join me right here. And I forgot Tyson too. And Kerry Howard, if he could join us, the safety director. If he could join, the safety director could join us. If Mayor Bibb would like to join us, he could join us as well. Just right around here. We could fill in both of these all around right here. All the way up here. And right here. You good? Where's the line prayers once he comes up here? Line prayers. All right, thank you. I have the great honor and privilege, and I'm really going to turn it over to the leadership of this organization, but 15 young men who I had the great privilege of learning and bonding with the last few months, and really had a chance to get to know them, and just wanted to bring them here to show them some love and appreciation. The men of Omega Psi Phi, the 15 thoroughly immersed sons of the resurgence that we are bringing in place. So I have the honor and privilege of bringing these men up, and then all of these men that you see represent the Omega Psi Phi Zeta Omega fraternity. told the mayor and Director Howard, I said there was a little bit of alpha in here and a little bit of kappa in here, so I had to find a way to put some omega in this joint. So now I'm going to really turn it over to our line president. His name is Aaron Turpin, and Aaron Turpin has the great leadership qualities, and he's going to introduce our dean and also our district rep, and then we're going to pass out these certificates and take a few pictures with these great men who we look forward to the community service and the leadership that they're going to be providing in the city of Cleveland and the greater Cleveland area. Thank you. And Mayor, if you'd like to say anything too. Can we please, we acknowledge everybody, can we please get a floor to the assembly recognizer, please? Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I want to first say that I apologize to Mayor Bibb for choosing the wrong organization, my brother. I'll see you over there. But no, in all seriousness, these individuals right here, we spent hours among hours and months together. I've got to know these individuals, these core individuals behind me, somewhat more than I know my own family. So without them, I wouldn't be here. So I had to lean on a lot of them behind me to be where I'm at now. So I want to thank them. I want you to take this away with you, and this is what I stand on. You can't lift a pebble with a finger, but with a hand, and we got a lot of hands, we can move mountains. All right, I'm gonna turn this over to my closest guy, Harrison Gilmer.
Okay. Good evening. A lot of you may not know much about the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, so what I'll leave you with is this. We're the only organization in the D9 that has friendship as one of our principles. We have 4: manhood, scholarship, perseverance, and uplift. These 15 gentlemen did not know each other before they began to seek Omega. They were 15 selfish individuals that shared selfishness to become one brotherhood. Many of you know, if you read scripture, that the Bible says the harvest is plenty, but the workers are few. Omega has just added 15 new workers, which gives us 30 hands. And as they say, many hands make light work. We look forward to working with Councilman Blaine, Mayor Bibb, and the city of Cleveland to continue to put Omega right where we should be with service and duty. Bruce Coffey.
Before I yield to Brother Moore, my position is the membership selection process chairman. I have the luxury and the pleasure of overseeing the gentlemen who are interested and who are chosen by the fraternity. So again, it's kind of hard to come behind this guy right here, but these are my guys. Our families are intertwined. And what's the scripture you said? It's better together? It's better together. Ain't that right, Coach? And if God ain't in it, you can't win it. Yeah. There you go. Brother Moore.
Good evening. Good evening. First, I would like to say thank you to Brother Coffey and Brother Gilmer for an outstanding job in helping to bring these 15 young men into the organization. We have some others who have helped with this process. Our former DR, Brother Kendall McCray, Brother Melvin Leach, and many other brothers who took part in this. With these 15 guys, when you're talking about outstanding young men, from pastors to entrepreneurs to coaches, educators, engineers, Fortune 500 execs, lawyers, young man who graduated from John Hay High School at the tender age of 15 years old, who's now attorney. Not to mention we have the sitting city council president who's amongst these great leaders. We're looking for outstanding things from these young men. We are positive that they're going to be very impactful within this community. And once again, glad to have you into the organization. Thank you.
All right, we're going to go ahead and pass these certificates out, and I'm going to pass them out, and we'll just take one big picture and we'll go. That sound like a plan? All right. First off is the ace. The ace. They call him Tick, or the guy up front. Levon Paul Young.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Next we have Alvarez Alfonso Reddix. We call him Lazarus. Alfonso Reddix. Next we have Arlen Daniel Henson. Arlen Daniel Henson. Next we have the line prayers, Aaron Lavelle Turpin.
Mama, I made it.
Where's my man? Next up, we have my man Cedric Robinson. Here he is. Sid.
Thank you.
Then we have my man Herc, Akil Antoine Seals. Where's Akil? Here he is. Next we have Arlen Keith Davis. Where's Arlen at? Pastor. Next we have Eric Terrell Patrick Sr. Where's Eric? EP.
All right, EP.
We call him Clean Q for several reasons. But Marcus Lamar Roberts could not be here. He sends his regrets. Anthony Tyrone Lassiter, we call him Comic. He is funny. Next up, we have Jameer Lamar Washington, one of the young guys in our crew. Jameer. Next, we have Deshaun Haley. Where's Deshaun? Back again.
All right, Deshaun.
All right. Next, we have that attorney that they were talking about, Brandon Earl Brown. Graduated from John Hay High School and is now an attorney for Goodyear, doing great. We don't need to hear about this guy. The next one is, I call him Tail Dog, but this guy, man, we really, hung tough for the last few years and got a chance really to get to know each other. But Pastor Edmund Wilson III. Tail Dog. All I would say in closing is, the D9 and the fraternity movement is so much more than what a lot of people think. These leaders across the D9 spectrum really are committed to public service. So I didn't get into this to do all the hopping and dancing. I got into this to really try to make sure that we can make a difference in our city. So I'm proud to be a part of this family. And I want to say this to the families that are here today, all of the mothers, daughters, give you a round of applause. All the wives, daughters, significant others, all of you, thank you. Sit that. Hey. Thank you for opening up your homes to us. Thank you for bringing in a new family. We've spent just as much time. I joke and tell people I got a visit at 3:30 in the morning one time from Brandon and Ed because my paperwork wasn't right. That's how much love we got for each other. So I just want to let y'all know this is so much more than just what you might see. This is really about a love for Cleveland, a love for our community, and I just am so proud to be a part of this entire family. Thank y'all so much. All right, thank you guys. Appreciate it. We're going to take a picture. You need to spread out with both sides. Spread out with both sides, and then we're going to take a picture. I'm going to get to the side.
You need to get in the middle.
Right here, yeah.
All the way over. When you sit in the chair, Blaine. You want me to sit in the chair? Hey, Blaine. You want me to sit down? You said.
I don't give up my chair.
That's a no-brainer. You can't, you can't help but ask.
All right. And y'all can come around both sides. Both sides. Right here, both sides. We got room on this side, too. D-Lo, come sit in the big chair. Where D-Lo at? Come sit in the chair. Come on, on, sit in the chair, Demo.
Yes, he does give him a big
Demo.
chair. Boy said, Melissa,
I lied. I'm gonna give up the big chair for the district rep.
stand you down.
Come on, Demo, get in the chair. Go ahead, Demo, get in the big chair.
Where Harrison and Bruce at?
Make it up to me.
We're Harrison and Bruce. Harrison's right next to you. Here's Harry Gill and Demo. Harry Gill and Demo. All right, Harry, Demo, y'all right here.
Put my hand right here.
All right, y'all good? All right, Claire got us and Louis got us.
Jesus.
I know. All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate y'all, man. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it. Hey, listen, that's why it's good. Appreciate y'all, brother. You got it, Brother Dion? Yeah, I'm good. Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate you coming, man. Appreciate you. All right, thank you.
See, y'all got the panic button down there.
Oh, yeah, you know, I got the escape pad. Yeah, the escape pad. Appreciate y'all, man. See y'all later. All right, appreciate it. You good. All right? Claire, I'll follow up and give it. All right, thank you. Hey, Bruce, you can tell everybody to get ready to roll, because I'll be here for a while. All right, I know that a lot of the guys to go, but thank y'all for coming. Y'all don't have to stick around. I know the family's like, we ready to go home. So if y'all ready to go home, please make yourself at home, okay? All right. First reading, emergency ordinances referred for administrative review.
Ordinance number 1379-2023 by Councilmembers Polensek and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Safety to apply for and accept a grant from the Ohio Office of Criminal Justice Services for the fiscal year 22 Project Safe Neighborhoods Grant, and authorizing one or more contracts with mental health services for homeless Persons Inc., DBA Frontline Services, and the Near West Side Multi-Service Corporation, DBA May Dugan Center, to implement the grant. Ordinance number 1380-2023 by Councilmembers Polensek and Griffin by departmental request. Emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Safety to apply for and accept a grant from the Ohio Office of Criminal Justice Services for the fiscal year 23 Recovery Ohio LE program to provide funding for the operation of the Cartel Gang Narcotics Laundering Task Force. Ordinance number 1381-2023 by Councilmembers McCormick and Griffin by departmental request. Emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Port Control to exercise a second option to renew contract number PS 2022-82 with Peregrine Advisors, LLC, to provide professional, financial, and accounting services for the Department of Port Control. Ordinance number 1382-2023 by Councilmembers McCormick and Griffin by departmental request. Emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Port Control to exercise the first option to renew contract number PI 2022-014 with West Roofing Systems, Inc. to maintain, inspect, repair, and replace roofs or roof systems at Cleveland Hopkins International Airport and Burke Lakefront Airport. Ordinance number 1383-2023 by Councilmember Hairston, an emergency ordinance designating the American Gas Association Appliance Testing Laboratory as a Cleveland landmark. Ordinance number 1384-2023 by Councilmembers Bishop and Griffin by departmental request. Emergency ordinance authorizing the Directors of Public Works and Finance to contract with one or more temporary employment agencies to provide professional services to supply temporary and seasonal personnel for the Department of Public Works and the Project Clean program and for various departments of the city for a period of up to 1 year. Ordinance number 1385-2023 by Councilmembers Bishop and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Works to employ one or more professional consultants to assess, recommend, and procure property insurance for the City of Cleveland-owned stadium located at 100 Alfred Lerner Way and other related services for a period up to 2 years. Ordinance number 1386-2023 by Councilmembers Spencer, Hairston, and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Directors of Public Works and Community Development to enter into an agreement with Paisano Properties, Inc. for the exchange of properties needed for the city's Lake Park Improvement Project, and authorizing the Mayor and Commissioner of Purchase and Supplies to acquire and convey the properties. Ordinance number 1387-2023 by Council Members Polensek and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Safety to apply for and accept a grant from the Ohio Office of Criminal Justice Services for the fiscal year 2022 Ohio Drug Law Enforcement Fund grant for the operation of the Cartel Gang Narcotics and Laundering Task Force, formerly known as the Northern Ohio Law Enforcement Task Force, authorizing the director to enter into agreements with the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Office and other entities, and authorizing the purchase by one or more contracts of one undercover police vehicle to implement the grant. Ordinance number 1388 by Council Members McCormack, Bishop, Harrison, and Griffin by departmental request. Emergency ordinance to vacate a portion of the Detroit Superior Viaduct.
First reading emergency ordinances to be passed.
Ordinance number 1389-2023 by Councilmembers Polensek and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Safety to enter into one or more contracts with the Alcohol, Drug Addiction, and Mental Health Services Board of Cuyahoga County to provide licensed social workers or similar professionals for the city's police and mental health co-responder program for the Department of Public Safety as authorized under ordinance number 894-2022, passed November 7, 2022, for a period not to exceed 5 years. Ordinance number 1390-2023 by Councilmember Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance to amend sections 8, 16, and 41 of ordinance number 194-2021, passed March 29, 2021, as amended, relating to the salaries for various classifications. Ordinance number 1391-2023 by Councilmembers Harrison and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Community Development to apply for and accept a grant from the Ohio Department of Development for the Lead Safe Ohio program, and authorizing the Director to enter into one or more contracts with various contractors, certified lead contractors, agencies, entities, or individuals to implement the grant. Ordinance number 1392-2023 by Councilmembers Harrison and Griffin by departmental request. Emergency ordinance approving the Tax Incentive Review Council's Year 22 recommendations. Ordinance number 1393-2023 by Councilmember Slife. Emergency ordinance consenting and approving the issuance of a permit for the annual Herman's Dead Sprint event on October 26, 2024, managed by Herms Sports and Events. Ordinance number 1394-2023 by Councilmember McCormack. An emergency ordinance consenting and approving the issuance of a permit for the Diversity Center's Walk, Rock, and Run event on May 4, 2024, managed by Herms Sports and Events.
Read the motion to suspend the rules.
Motion by Councilmember Starr that the rules be suspended and the legislation just read be placed on final passage, seconded by Councilmember Spencer.
Call the roll.
Griffin, Bishop, Conwell, Gray, Hairston, Harsh, House Jones, Joseph Jones, Casey, Kelly, Mora, McCormack, Polensek, Santana, Slife, Spencer, Starr. 14 yeas, Mr. Chairman.
Call the roll on passage.
Griffin, Bishop, Conwell, Gray, Hairston, Harsh, House Jones, Joseph Jones, Casey, Kelly, Mora, McCormack, Polensek, Santana, Slife, Spencer, Starr. 14 yeas, Mr. Chairman.
First reading emergency resolutions to be adopted.
Resolution number 1395-2023 by Councilmember Casey. An emergency resolution withdrawing objection to the transfer of ownership of a D5 and D6 liquor permit at 13932 Triscuit Road and repealing resolution number 1341-2023 objecting to said permit. Resolution number 1431-2023 by Councilmember Casey. An emergency resolution objecting to a new C1 liquor permit at 4576 West 130th Street.
Read the motion to suspend the rules.
Motion by Councilmember Starr that the rules be suspended and the legislation just read be placed in the final passage, seconded by Councilmember Spencer.
Call the roll.
Griffin, Bishop, Conwell, Gray, Hairston, Harsh, House Jones, Joseph Jones, Casey, Kelly, Mora, McCormack, Polensek, Santana, Slife, Spencer, Starr. 14 yeas.
Call the roll on adoption.
Griffin, Bishop, Conwell, Gray, Hairston, Harsh, House Jones, Joseph Jones, Casey, Kelly, Mora, McCormack, Polensek, Santana, Slife, Spencer, Starr. 14 yeas, Mr. Chairman.
Second reading emergency ordinances to be passed.
Ordinance number 1135-2023 as amended by Councilmembers Harrison and Griffin by departmental request. Emergency ordinance to discontinue the divisions of neighborhood services, neighborhood development, and administrative services by repealing sections 137.07, 137.08, 137.09, 137.10, 137.11, and 137.12 of the codified ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, as amended by various ordinances, and to establish the divisions of community programming, program operations, enterprise operations, residential improvement, housing development, and property utilization within the Department of Community Development by enacting new sections 137.05 through 137.12 and 137.121, 137.122, 137.123, and 137.124 relating to the duties of the new commissioners. Ordinance number,
Go ahead.
ordinance number 1182-2023 by Councilmembers Gray, Bishop, Harrison, and Griffin by departmental request. Emergency ordinance authorizing Director of Capital Projects to apply to the District 1 Public Works Integrating Committee for state funding for constructing improvements to portions of Shaker Boulevard from Buckeye Road to the East Corporation line, to apply for and accept any gifts or grants for this purpose from any public or private entity, authorizing professional services agreements with public and private entities and any relative agreements, and authorizing the Commissioner of Purchase and Supplies to acquire, accept, record for right-of-way services any real property and easements necessary to make the improvement. Ordinance number 1184-2023 is amended by Councilmembers Jones, Bishop, Gray, Hairston, and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance to amend the title and sections number 1, 2, 4, and 7 of ordinance number 490-2023 passed May 31, 2023, relating to professional services to establish, implement, and manage a revolving loan fund for a home repair and rehabilitation program for Cleveland's southeast side neighborhoods, and to supplement the ordinance by adding a new whereas clause in sections 1A, 1B, and 1C. Ordinance number 1194-2023 by Councilmembers Casey and Griffin by departmental request. Emergency ordinance determining the method of making the public improvement of constructing various improvements to the Parma Pump Station and authorizing the Director of Public Utilities to enter into one or more public improvement contracts for the making of the improvement. Ordinance number 1233-2023 by Councilmembers Harrison and Griffin by departmental request. Emergency ordinance to amend Section 9 of ordinance number 371-2022 passed May 16, 2022, relating to conducting the exterior paint program. Ordinance number 1253-2023 by Councilmembers Casey and Griffin by departmental request. Emergency ordinance authorizing the purchase by one or more requirement contracts of hauling and disposing of residuals from the Crown Waterworks plant and in emergencies, other water treatment plants. Authorizing the Director of Public Utilities to enter into one or more requirement contracts without competitive bidding with Polydyne Inc. for polymer chemicals needed for dewatering Crown's residuals for the Division of Water, Department of Public Utilities for a term up to 2 years. Ordinance number 1254-2023 is amended by Councilmembers Harrison and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance to amend the fourth whereas clause in section 1 of ordinance number 671-2023 passed June 5, 2023, relating to authorizing the Director of Community Development to provide financial assistance to projects providing housing in the city of Cleveland. Ordinance number 1256-2023 by Councilmembers Bishop and Griffin by departmental request. Emergency ordinance to amend sections 185.01 and 185.08 of the codified ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio, as amended by various ordinances to repeal section 185.02, advertisement for bids, and to supplement the codified ordinances by enacting new sections 185.011, 185.012, and 185.02 relating to constructing contracting. Ordinance number 1272-2023 by Councilmembers Casey and Griffin by departmental request. Emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Utilities to enter into one or more requirement contracts without competitive bidding with Southeastern Equipment Company, Inc. and Murphy Tractor and Equipment Company, Inc. for the purchase of proprietary replacement parts of heavy-duty construction equipment and labor and materials to repair and maintain the proprietary equipment for the divisions of water, water pollution control, and Cleveland Public Power, Department of Public Utilities for a term of 2 years. Ordinance 1273-2023 by Councilmembers McCormick and Bishop and Harrison by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Capital Projects to issue a permit to 1865 West 22nd Street LLC to encroach into the public right-of-way of West 22nd Street by installing, using, and maintaining new entrance staircases in an at-grade courtyard. Ordinance number 1277-2023 by Councilmembers Casey and Griffin by departmental request. Emergency ordinance determining the method of making the public improvement, maintaining and improving the interior and exterior of various buildings and sites, including but not limited to roofs and related buildings and site systems. Authorizing the Director of Public Utilities to enter into one or more public improvement contracts to construct the improvement. Authorizing the Director to employ one or more professional consultants necessary to design the improvement. And authorizing the Director to apply for and accept any grants, including but not limited to grants from the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District for community cost share program funding for a period of 2 years. Ordinance number 1286-2023 by council members Harrison and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Community Development to enter into one or more grant agreements with various entities to assist with a lead safe program using a portion of the city's coronavirus local fiscal recovery fund as authorized under ordinance number 119-2022, passed May 23, 2022, as amended by ordinance number 995-2022, passed October 24, 2022. Ordinance number 1293-2023 by council members Polensek and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Safety to apply for and accept a grant from the United States Department of Justice Bureau of Justice Assistance for the fiscal year 2023 Burn Justice Assistance Grant local solicitation, authorizing one or more contracts with Cuyahoga County and various cities, and authorizing the purchase by one or more contracts of one mobile security unit to implement the grant. Ordinance number 1294-2023 is amended by Councilmembers Starr and Griffin. An emergency ordinance to authorize the Director of Community Development to enter into a grant agreement with Midtown Cleveland Incorporated, or its designee, to partially finance the development of a portion of the Warner and Swayze building located at 5701 Carnegie Avenue into affordable senior and family housing units. Ordinance number 1298-2023 by Councilmembers Polensek and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance to amend section 135.071 of the Codified Ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, as amended by ordinance number 1188-12, passed September 10, 2012, relating to the maximum age for original appointment to the Divisions of Police and Fire. Ordinance number 1300-2023 by Councilmembers Polensek and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Safety to apply for and accept a grant from the United States Department of Justice Bureau of Justice Assistance for the fiscal year 23 Public Safety Partnership Grant, authorizing the Director to enter into one or more contracts with the Task Force on Violent Crime, DBA Partnership for a Safer Cleveland, and with various agencies and or entities, and to enter into various written standard purchase and requirement contracts to implement the grant. Ordinance number 1339-2023 by Councilmembers Conwell and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Health to apply for and accept a grant from Case Western Reserve University for the public health training for Northeast Ohio Workforce Program. Ordinance number 1340-2023 by Councilmembers Polensek and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Directors of Public Safety or Law to apply for and accept grants from the County Public Safety and Justice Services for the fiscal year 2023 Stop Violence Against Women Act program for a sexual assault advocate and for the law enforcement and prosecution components of the Cleveland Domestic Violence Program, and authorizing one or more contracts with the Cleveland Rape Crisis Center and other entities to implement the grants. Ordinance number 1345-2023 as amended by Councilmembers Harrison and Griffin by department request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Economic Development to create the Job Creation Income Tax Credit Incentive Program to provide economic development incentives for the purpose of creating jobs and improving the economic welfare of the people of the City of Cleveland as authorized in Article 8, Section 13 of the Ohio Constitution. Ordinance number 1355-2023 by Councilmembers Bishop and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance to amend Section 1 of Ordinance number 683-2023, passed July 12, 2023, relating to the purchase, lease, or lease with option to purchase of various on-road vehicles, apparatus, and off-road equipment, cabs, bodies, and accessories, equipment, and other aftermarket items for the Department of Public Utilities. Ordinance number 1356-2023 by Councilmembers Bishop and Griffin by departmental request. Emergency ordinance to amend Section 1 of Ordinance number 684-2023, passed July 12, 2023, relating to the purchase, lease, or lease with option to purchase of various on-road vehicles, apparatus, and off-road equipment, cabs, bodies, and accessories, equipment, and other aftermarket items for the various divisions of city government. Ordinance number 1357-2023 by Councilmembers McCormack and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Port Control to exercise the second option to renew contract number LS 2021-006 with Prospect International Airport Services Corporation for the lease of space located in the passenger terminal building at Cleveland Hopkins International Airport to support their wheelchair operations and other ancillary services for Delta Airlines and other airlines. Ordinance number 1358-2023 by Councilmembers McCormack and Griffin by departmental request. Emergency ordinance authorizing Director of Port Control to execute a deed of easement granting to the East Ohio Gas Company, DBA Dominion Energy Ohio, certain easement rights and property located at Cleveland Hopkins International Airport, and declaring that the easement rights granted are not needed for the city's public use. Ordinance number 1359-2023 by Councilmembers McCormack and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Port Control to enter into a lease agreement with United Airlines, Inc. for the lease of building numbers 213 and 219 on Cargo Road at Cleveland Hopkins International Airport for their administrative offices and for the purposes of maintaining flight operations and ground service equipment owned by United Airlines. Ordinance number 1360-2023 by Council members McCormack and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Port Control to employ one or more consultants, developers, or vendors needed for various projects, services, and upgrades to implement and facilitate an airport sustainability management plan and other related projects, and to enter into various written standard purchase and requirement contracts needed in connection with the plan. Ordinance number 1361-2023 by Councilmember Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance to make additional appropriations of $45,020,000 to the general fund, $11,339,200 to the special revenue fund, and $205,000 to the internal service fund. Ordinance number 1362-2023 by Councilmember Griffin by departmental request. Emergency ordinance to provide for the transfer and amendment to the general fund appropriations in the amount of $18,080,000, $10,000 within the internal service fund, and $90,000 within the small enterprise fund. Ordinance number 1363-2023 by Councilmember Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance to make temporary appropriations for the current payrolls and other ordinary expenses of the City of Cleveland from the period from January 1, 2024 until the effective date of the annual appropriation ordinance for the fiscal year ending December 31, 2024. Ordinance number 1365-2023 by Councilmembers McCormack and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing Director of Port Control to employ one or more professional consultants to perform various services related to projects on the Airport Capital Improvement Plan, determining the method of making the public improvement of constructing the stormwater outfall stabilization and safety access project and rehabilitating the tunnel to the Greater Cleveland Regional Transit Authority's terminal at Cleveland Hopkins International Airport, and authorizing the Director of Port Control to enter into one or more public improvement contracts for the making of the improvement. Ordinance number 1366-2023 by Councilmembers Harrison and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance approving the addition of certain property to the Northeast Ohio Advanced Energy District, accepting and approving a petition and a plan from a property owner in the district identifying special energy improvement project, declaring it necessary to conduct a special energy improvement project, providing for the assessment of the cost of such special energy improvement project, and authorizing the Director of Economic Development to enter into an energy project cooperative agreement and a special assessment agreement to implement the project and declaring an emergency. Ordinance number 1367-2023 by Councilmembers Conwell and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Health to enter into one or more contracts without competitive bidding with the URG Corporation and Met1 Instruments for the purpose of proprietary samplers for up to 4 monitoring sites for the Division of Air Quality, Department of Public Health. Ordinance number 1370-2023 by Councilmembers Conwell and Griffin by departmental request. Emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Health to enter into one or more contracts with various agencies and entities to provide Moms First services to women at risk of poor birth outcomes for a period of 1 year. Ordinance number 1371-2023 by Councilmembers Conwell, Bishop, and Griffin by departmental request. Emergency ordinance to amend the grant agreement entered into under ordinance number 753-2021 passed September 20, 2021 as amended, relating to applying for and accepting a grant from the Cleveland Foundation for the development of the African American Cultural Garden. Ordinance number 1372-2023 is amended by Councilmembers Spencer, Griffin, Polensek, McCormack, Santana, Jones, Bishop, Gray, Starr, House Jones, Conwell, Hairston, Kelly, Mora, Harsh, Casey, Slife. An emergency ordinance designating West Clifton Avenue from West 58th Street to West 65th Street with a secondary and honorary designation of Judge Raymond L. Bianco Way.
Okay, read the motion to suspend the rules.
A motion by Councilmember Starr that the rules be suspended and the legislation just read be placed on final passage, seconded by Councilmember Spencer.
Call the roll.
Griffin, Bishop, Conwell, Gray, Hairston, Harsh, House Jones, Joseph Jones, Casey, Kelly, Mora, McCormack, Polensek, Santana, Slife, Spencer, Starr. 14 yeas, Mr. Chairman.
Call the roll on passage.
Griffin, Bishop, Conwell, Gray, Hairston, Harsh, House Jones, Joseph Jones, Casey, Kelly, Mora, McCormack, Polensek, Santana, Slife, Spencer, Starr. 14 yeas, no nays.
Thank you. We'll now move to introductions. Are there any introductions? Seeing that there are no introductions, are there any announcements? Seeing no announcements, miscellaneous. Do we have any other miscellaneous? Councilwoman Spencer and then Councilman Charles Slife.
Thank you, Council President. Although the council body did not introduce and pass a resolution this evening in regards to the conflict in Gaza between Israel and Hamas, I wanted to acknowledge.
Excuse me, she has the floor. Please let her finish her statement.
Please allow
Let her finish her statement. Please follow through.
I'm learning, and please allow me to speak. I do rise.
No.
I do rise to say that our hearts have been breaking since October 7th. How could they not? Too many civilian lives have been lost in this conflict, including a staggering death toll in Gaza that is now over 15,000 people. To advocates, leaders, and activists who have reached out to Cleveland City Council over the past 2 months, please continue to tell your stories. We need your stories, and the world needs your stories. I believe in the promise of the State of Israel, but Israel's increasingly right-wing government has been going in the wrong direction for a very long time when it comes to policies towards the Palestinian people. One thing I have learned in conversations with advocates is that the U.S. has tremendous leverage due to the billions of dollars in military aid that we send to Israel each year. The U.S.'s support for Israel cannot be without conditions. I do pray for peace and for U.S. leaders to use their influence, our influence, to help end this conflict and to create a path towards lasting peace by influencing Israel to move away from far-right policies and towards broad peace talks in the wake of this war. I commit to staying in dialogue with advocates. The conversations here in Cleveland must continue. I want to conclude by adding that in terms of public comment, I know that our council president has been taking feedback from members. He has been extremely open. No rules changes occurred today. We're at the end of session. We will not meet again until January. Although I, like many others, are not interested in limiting the content of comment, I hope advocates know that rules are important to prevent the disruption of meetings and allow council to conduct our business. Thank you.
Councilman Charles Slife.
Thank you. I rise tonight to also speak about public comment. And I honestly thank you to Michelle Jackson, if she's still here, because she queued up a lot of what I was thinking very well. So I was one of the council members in the previous term that was very supportive of public comment, engaged with Clevelanders for Public Comment and some other organizations. And as Ms. Jackson noted, there were some differences between what council adopted and what had been proposed by Clevelanders for Public Comment. In some ways, what council adopted may even be a little looser than what had been seen as best practice by this great organization. So all that being said, I do think that it is worthwhile to, this 2 years in, take a step back, analyze how public comment is working, and determine ways that we can improve it. And I'm looking forward to, over the next couple of weeks while council's not meeting, to re-engage with Clevelanders for public comment. I honestly think that there's a lot of commonalities in what we're seeing. And let me just say that I sort of divide public comment into three groups. There's legislative, there's other city business, and there's non-city business. The legislative's pretty obvious, people coming forward and speaking to a specific ordinance. I'm not in favor of any change to my colleagues and to the audience that would be so prescriptive that you could only speak to active legislation. Now, other city business, very broad. We've had people come and talk about city services. We've had people come and talk about aging in place. And as we know, over the past few weeks, we've had members members of not exclusively the Palestinian community, but Palestinian community and allies come and speak on behalf of the people of Gaza. I think that all of that is also legitimate public comment, and that is not something that I think that I or others on this body are trying to thwart. Now, this third category, there have been instances of people coming and promoting their business. I don't think that's legitimate city government work. There have been people sharing personal incidents in their lives that are inappropriate. You know, there is a conversation, I think, to be had about what we are doing, what our rules are, but I don't want to be so limiting that we are overcorrecting and denying people the ability to come and speak to their government. A bit of an elephant in the room, perhaps, but another reason that I supported public comment 2 years ago is I felt that it was a good way for people not only to be able to address us, the council, but also the executive branch of government. And to that end, I want to thank the members of the administration who are here tonight. There was an article this morning in which, Mayor, you were quoted as noting that you're asked about your attendance at our meetings, noted that per the charter, it's not obligatory that any member of the administration is here. While that's true, I do hope that you see value in being here and that you also recognize that whether it's hearing from residents through elected officials like us directly at that microphone, moments in the hallway, this is a fantastic opportunity for us to be able to engage with our residents directly, and I hope that we can all embrace that and know that this is a time where we can come together as the city and partner in ways to move our city forward. So with that, I look forward to working with Clevelanders for Public Comment, others. As I said, I think that we are not as far as some of these articles have suggested. I think that we recognize now going into the junior year of our term, I suppose, that there are opportunities to improve, and I think that we should do that diligently, but we should not do that in a way that is preventing people from coming and speaking about legitimate concerns of City Hall. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Madam Clerk, Mr. Clerk, please excuse the absences.
Motion by Councilmember Starr that the absence of Councilmembers Bishop, Conwell, and Moore are hereby excused. Seconded by Councilmember Spencer.
Thank you. This council is adjourned to the next call of the chair. The next meeting will be on January the 8th. Thank you.